Hey guys, let's get more news from Steelers, but first don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your like. NFL Best Bets, Week 13, never lay the points with Kenny Pickett. Last week was a historic week for betting favorites. Team sportsbooks had pegged to win covered 12 of 16 lines over the holiday week. That's great news if, say, you'd invested in the Dallas Cowboys or San Francisco 49ers to win blowouts. But if you banked on the Minnesota Vikings or Detroit Lions to defend their home fields like we did, well, sorry guy. That marked a .500 week, 4-4, between our picks and served to cool off what had been a hot start over the first two-thirds of the season. Fortunately, we're primed to learn from these mistakes and get back to profitability, still up more than 30 units total, as the 2023 NFL season hits its home stretch. All analysis from our resident NFL handicapper, the Rhode Island Scumbag, is in quotes below. My non-scumbag picks follow. I made a rule about a decade ago that was pretty simple: do not put your hard-earned money on the Detroit Lions. For some reason, I lost my way this past weekend. Detroit will always do Detroit things. Lesson learned. I can probably burn my future ticket on Danny Boy to win Coach of the Year as well after that pathetic showing. I'm going to add a new amendment to the Degenerates' creed right now: do not back Baker Mayfield, ever. I will say, I hedged off my bet a little bit when I heard that Lavonte David was out, something I was unaware of when I suggested betting Tampa Bay. Week 13 was a pretty easy slate to handicap. I made my lines and found some key numbers being way off. I am also leaning in on a trend that seems to be automatic. Cam Hayward expected to be sidelined for 8 weeks after surgery. According to NFL Network's Ian Rappaport and Mike Garafolo, Cameron Hayward will undergo groin surgery this Thursday, 15, making him inactive for around 8 weeks. The Pittsburgh Steelers athlete was injured during the 30-7 defeat against the San Francisco 49ers last Sunday, 10. The Steelers' defense felt the absence of its best defensive tackle. The Niners' offense accumulated 391 total yards, 152 of them with Christian McCaffrey on the ground. The mission of replacing a player of Hayward's caliber, selected to the Pro Bowl 6 times and an All-Pro in 3 seasons, becomes even more difficult with the visit of the Cleveland Browns in Week 2. The Browns, like the 49ers, have a formidable land game. Nick Chubb led Ohio State with 106 rushing yards on 18 attempts, a career-high average of 5.8 yards per carry, in a dominant 24-3 win against the Cincinnati Bengals in Week 1. Mike Tomlin, head coach of the Steelers, will depend on third-year Isaiah Loudermilk and freshman Keanu Benton, drafted in the second round this year, to reinforce the defensive line. In addition to a better defensive performance, the attack led by Kenny Pickett is expected to recover from a weak first match. There were 239 total yards, with just 41 rushing yards. Pickett contributed an aerial touchdown but had 2 interceptions. An important challenge against Cleveland's defense, which gave up just 3 points to Joe Burrow's Bengals. The quarterback was swallowed, finishing the game with only 82 air yards, 45% pass success, no touchdowns, and no interceptions. Cameron Phillip Hayward, born May 6, 1989, is an American football defensive tackle, for the Pittsburgh Steelers of the National Football League, NFL. He was selected by the Steelers in the first round of the 2011 NFL Draft. He played college football at Ohio State. Hayward is the son of Pro Bowl NFL player Craig Hayward. Hayward attended Peachtree Ridge High School in Sewanee, Georgia, where he played for the Peachtree Ridge Lions high school football team. He was the 2006 Georgia Class 5A Defensive Player of the Year. The team tied for the Georgia Class 5A state championship that same year. He totaled over 100 tackles and 16 sacks as a senior. He was considered the 7th best football player in Georgia and the 13th best defensive tackle in the nation by Scout.com. He benched 335 pounds and squatted 510 pounds, and was considered a scholar athlete at Peachtree Ridge High School with a GPA of 3.2. As a true freshman in 2007, Hayward was named a freshman All-American by Sporting News, Rivals.com and Scout.com after recording 30 tackles, 9 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and 2 passes broken up. The Ohio State Buckeyes went to the BCS National Championships with Hayward as a freshman, losing to Louisiana State University, 38-24. As a sophomore in 2008, he recorded 36 tackles and 3 sacks. The Buckeyes made it to another bowl game in the 2009 Fiesta Bowl against Texas, losing 24-21. As a junior, in 2009, he had 10 tackles for loss and 6.5 sacks, leading the Ohio State Buckeyes to the Rose Bowl, in which the Buckeyes won 26-17 against Oregon. Following his junior season, Hayward decided against declaring for the NFL draft, instead returning for his senior season with the Buckeyes. Hayward amassed 48 total tackles and 3.5 sacks in his senior season, returning an interception for a career-high 80 yards against Miami. He led the Buckeyes to a berth in the All-State 2011 Sugar Bowl, beating the Arkansas Razorbacks 31-26. $11.8 million Raiders star expected to sign with Steelers in free agency. Josh Jacobs is a player to watch this offseason. Former Las Vegas Raiders general manager Dave Ziegler did not give him a multi-year contract and kept the running back with the franchise, but raised him to $11.8 million this season. With a new general manager set to take over next season, it's unclear how much they will value a running back. Bleacher Report's Alex Kay seems to think Jacobs' days in Las Vegas are numbered. Kay predicted the Pro Bowler would sign with the Steelers this offseason. Although Jacobs is still finding the end zone with some regularity, he has 6 touchdowns on the year and is flirting with a career-best pass catcher. He has 35 receptions for 280 yards through the first 12 games. His market is not it will be very hot due to the meager 12 feet per load, Kay wrote in a November 29 column. Jacobs appears primed to land with a 2024 non-contender, likely a player with cap space who needs a ball carrier to shoulder a heavy load due to a lack of talent at center. The Steelers didn't pay their running backs, but there's a chance he could move on after the season. Depending on who potentially replaces him, they could be interested in adding a very good running back to build around. It's very difficult to know right now whether or not Josh Jacobs will be with the Raiders next season. This will largely depend on the direction the team takes. If interim head coach Antonio Pierce keeps his job, it will be much easier to see Jacobs return. Pierce spoke highly of him and wants an early attack. Now, if the Raiders decide to go through a full rebuild, it doesn't make much sense to keep an expensive running back on the roster. Jacobs is still young at 25, but it's unlikely he wants to play any more losing seasons. Even in a rebuild, a coach might want to build the offense around Jacobs, but it's unclear if he would be interested. The Raiders could also sign a big name like Jim Harbaugh. Jacobs is certainly the type of hard-nosed player he would want to coach. There are many paths to Jacobs' return, but this should make sense for both sides. The Raiders avoided undergoing a total rebuild following the resignation of former head coach Jon Gruden. There are some very expensive veterans on the roster, such as Davante Adams, Colton Miller and Max Crosby. Joshua Jacobs, born February 11, 1998, is an American football running back for the Las Vegas Raiders of the National Football League, NFL. He played college football at Alabama and was selected by the Raiders in the first round of the 2019 NFL Draft. Jacobs attended McLean High School in Tulsa, Oklahoma. During his high school football career, he had 5,372 yards and 56 touchdowns for the Titans. He committed to the University of Alabama to play college football. Jacobs was homeless in middle school. At the end of his rookie season in the NFL, he was featured reflecting on his homeless experience in a Kia commercial that aired during Super Bowl 54. And you fan, what do you think of the Josh Jacobs situation? Leave your opinion in the comments.